All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Q&A live stream number 72. It is approximately 7:58 right here on the East Coast in the great state of New Jersey. Today is Thursday, August 27th, 2020. Today was a very big, sad, and depressing day for retail. Everybody knows that the big announcement was made today. That's right, Lord & Taylor will be closing the rest of their stores. All 38 locations have officially begun liquidation sales today, and I believe they are expected to complete liquidation sales between fall and winter of 2020. So Lord & Taylor is going to cease to exist. I have a couple of plans to get to a couple of stores beforehand and to get some final rides going for some Lord & Taylor stores. So very sad and devastating news. Lots of jobs are going to be lost. It's just very depressing, and this was ultimately the fall. I mean, Lord & Taylor was already closing stores left and right, but, add the global pandemic of the coronavirus or COVID-19, and you got literally a retail recipe for disaster. And Lord & Taylor, or Lito Tet rather, is pulling the plug on all the locations. So they'll hold all the stores as a whole will literally cease to exist. It's one of the most depressing things this year. Certainly that, and Lord & Taylor actually came before Sears did, but it's still very sad. I mean, Lord & Taylor has been around for a very long time, and it's had such a good following, and it's such a shame that they're all going away, but what can you do? We had this thing called COVID, and that's kind of what happened. So, yeah, I have plans to get to a couple of stores, like I said, and I will take it from there, and I'll just have to wait and see what happens. So, yeah, I did a couple of videos. There's a lot of malls now that are in some serious trouble. Livingston is in some serious trouble. Freehold Raceway Mall is in some serious trouble. And even Rockaway and Quaker Bridge are also in some serious trouble. Rockaway and Quaker Bridge now are only going to have Macy's and Sears. I mean, I'm sorry, not Macy's and Sears. Macy's and JCPenney is their only anchor. So those two malls in the state of New Jersey are in some serious trouble. Now, considering that they're going to be losing some Lord & Taylors. Livingston is in some serious trouble, and definitely Freehold is the biggest one that's in a lot of trouble. That one lost its Sears. It's Nordstrom left beginning of August, and now Lord & Taylor. Freehold is in some serious trouble, guys. I'm kind of glad I went when I went. Very depressing. Freehold, unfortunately, it's not fair that all these stores have to close and all these people have to lose their jobs, for a virus that does affect less than maybe 1%. It's a shame because these are great American staples. These are people's livelihoods. These are the places that people have gone to work, and people at the top, they don't care. They just see these people, as numbers on a piece of paper. It's a shame, because these are some great department stores. They have some great class and architecture elements, and people are just more interested in going to a Walmart or Target. They're not interested in going to a classic department store and walking around. They're more interested in that. And also, it's not only about tastes of the consumer, but it's also the bad leadership and bad decisions that are also to blame. Hudson Bay definitely played a huge part in this, and Lito Tet also played a huge part in Lord & Taylor, unfortunately, closing all their stores. It's a real shame, but ultimately, I think everybody knew that the end was near, and this is it. This is the end for Lord & Taylor. Liquidation sales again began today, and I would expect them to conclude before the end of 2020. So they'll probably go August or late August, September, October, November, and probably concluding right in the middle of December. That would be my educated guess at this point in time. Like I said, it's very sad, and I wish the best of luck for any of these employees working at these stores now. Get your cover letters and resumes ready to go, because you're going to be out of a job within the next 3 to 4 months. And here's what's even more scarier to say. Here's what's even more unbelievable to say. If, and hopefully this won't happen, if we end up getting a second wave of coronavirus that'll be in the end of Lord & Taylor. They will never open up their stores again to the public. I am literally crossing my fingers and knocking on some wood that won't happen, because there's a lot of Lord & Taylor stores for me to see even before that were to happen. So I got to try and make every effort to get out to a store a weekend almost, until I've pretty much seen every other Lord & Taylor store. But again, it's just very depressing to talk about, and it's people's livelihoods that are gone now. So anyways, so this might be a quick Q&A live stream. I personally don't really have a lot of energy, but I figured I'd put this up tonight because I'm not going to be around tomorrow. But I wanted to really talk about Lord & Taylor in particular, because it is just a very sad and depressing thing to talk about, and it is going to be making headlines everywhere in the news tomorrow about Lord & Taylor. It's just a real shame, people's livelihoods destroyed because of a global pandemic. It's a shame. It's a real shame. Is somebody else live? I don't know. I'm about to check. Who else is live? Oh, here we go. Okay, so there's some more people watching. But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on Lord & Taylor, just make sure to leave it in the chat, because I personally don't want to keep talking about Lord & Taylor. But if you guys have any thoughts about Lord & Taylor, again, just leave it in the chat, and we can go over it as well. So don't think there's any other stores that are closing right now. Sears is expected to release some more store closings, I believe, by middle of September. We can expect some more Sears and Kmart closings. So it's a shame, yeah. Yeah, Lord & Taylor closing is literally making headlines on almost every newspaper. Literally. I'm just looking at all the articles right now. Yep. All the patches have done articles for each individual town are making articles. So, I mean, this is like everywhere on the internet. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about Lord & Taylor too, John C. It's a shame. Lito Tet and Hudson Bay are to blame for the unbelievably garbage leadership and putting people's livelihoods, in danger. And, people enjoyed working at Lord & Taylor, but then management started to really shuffle people around, and that was the end. That's the end for Lord & Taylor. I think the coronavirus pandemic ultimately delayed the fate of Lord & Taylor, but that finally came end of August. So it's quite depressing, in my opinion, and it's unfortunate, but there's not much you can do. Like I said, the decision has been made. All stores are liquidating, and that's it. That's what you got to look at it as. Corporate made the decision in the bankruptcy court proceedings, and they said for the foreseeable future. And by the way, there was no buyer whatsoever for Lord & Taylor. Yeah, so they ultimately decided that instead of closing 24, let's just cease operation. Because honestly, to operate 14 stores for Lord & Taylor, unless you have a really strong following or somebody who is actually willing to scoop up Lord & Taylor, unfortunately right now, because of everything that's going on with the pandemic, it's not as easy to scoop up a retailer unless you're a place like Simon Property Group. But I don't think Simon is willing to save Lord & Taylor, and honestly, that would be a stupid acquisition. I think Simon should really go after JCPenney versus going after Lord & Taylor, unfortunately. I'm definitely going to get to Quaker Bridge because that's a Montgomery vector. I'm going to go there at some point in the fall, I think, to Quaker Bridge. I'm definitely due for a Quaker Bridge trip, well, now considering that's closing. I'm going to try and do Quaker Bridge, Bridgewater, downtown Westfield, Rockaway Town Square, the two locations in Paramus, and I'll see what I can get out on Long Island. I'm not going to waste my time with Eastchester because it's not too far away. No, I haven't heard anything about Sears and Roebuck. Plus, Sears and Roebuck is concluding liquidation sales currently at some stores, so I can expect an announcement at some point in the middle of September. But Lord & Taylor is pretty much toast. It's done. Lito Tet, I guess their chief something officer, I'm not sure exactly what this person was, but the decision was made to, instead of closing 24. So originally it was 19. They added 5 more on, and now they went from 24 to now they're adding 24 plus 14, you get the rest of the 38 remaining Lord and Taylor locations. It's quite depressing, to say the least, but I knew the end was coming for Lord and Taylor, but it really is the end of that brand, and it's a shame. It's a real shame because that was an American staple, especially here in the Northeast. I know someone out in California, they'll have no idea what Lord and Taylor is, but it was definitely a staple, especially in a lot of New Jersey malls. Oh no, it's not toast. They're done. They're going from 11 to 7, chapter 11 to chapter 7, liquidating all assets. That means selling clothes, fixtures, and every single store will be closed. Every single one. That's the two in Paramus, which are both in Bergen County Fashion Center. And so much for Lord and Taylor opening up an American Dream. That is now 100% scrapped. But they are not. They're closing Fashion Center. They're closing Westfield Garden State Plaza, downtown Westfield, Bridgewater Commons, Quaker Bridge Mall, Freehold Raceway Mall, the one in Eastchester, Manhasset, Walt Whitman Shops, Westfield South Shore, Garden City, the one in Stamford, Connecticut, the one at Westfield Trumbull, the one at Danbury Fair Mall. A lot of Lord and Taylor closings. Oh, and King of Prussia, Bala-Cynwyd. I could literally go down the list of all the Lord and Taylor stores that are closing, and it's unfortunate. It really is. And a lot of malls, especially here, I don't know if you guys have any malls that are nearby, are in a lot of trouble. Freehold Raceway Mall is in trouble. Rockaway Town Square is in semi-trouble. Livingston is in a lot of trouble, and Quaker Bridge is in a lot of trouble. The reason why I say Livingston and Freehold lost 3 anchors in less than 12 months. Livingston Mall has lost 2 anchors within less than a 6-month period. Sears did close back in April of 2020, right at the peak of the coronavirus pandemic, and now Lord & Taylor is closing there in fall, winter 2020. Macys will be closing, or not closing, but rather looking into closing that store within the next year or two. And Livingston Mall after that is pretty much dead. Barnes & Noble's struggling. They could pull out of there. So Livingston Mall is done. I could very well see Simon selling that. Rockaway Town Square losing its Sears next month. Lord & Taylor now at that mall as well is also closing. But it's over for Lord & Taylor. It is game over for Lord & Taylor, unfortunately. I think so. Walt Whitman will be okay because Walt Whitman has Macy's, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Bloomingdale's. So that mall should be okay. For now, at least. Walt Whitman is safe. Westfield South Shore, you got Dick's Sporting Goods. You got a couple of great restaurants. You got a Macy's, and you got JCPenney. So those two should be okay for now. But Freehold Raceway Mall and Livingston are in some serious trouble of becoming dead malls. Freehold because they lost their Nordstrom, they're losing their Lord & Taylor, and they lost their Sears. Livingston is in trouble because they lost their Sears and Lord & Taylor. Rockaway Town Square is in trouble because they're going to be losing their Sears on September 13th, 2020, and their Lord & Taylor because they're only going to have Macy's, JCPenney. Same story for Quaker Bridge. Quaker Bridge lost their Sears and Roebuck in 2018. They're now going to be losing their Lord & Taylor. So it's a shame. A lot of malls are now in trouble thanks to Lord & Taylor closing all their stores. As you can see, it's all part of the retail ripple effect. Once you lose anchor stores, you start losing stores inside the mall. It's unfortunate. It's very, very, very unfortunate. Oh, yeah. Does that have a Boscov's? And if it's a Boscov's, it might be okay. So, oh, hi, Roblox. How are you, man? So, yeah, I start school next week. Yeah, Macy's ain't doing too well either. They might even pull out of Livingston. I could see them even thinking about pulling out of Freehold. It's not about speculation at this point. It's, do they want to stay at that mall? Yes, anchor stores are very difficult to replace. In fact, round one, bowling and amusement wanted to go on the lower level of the Sears and Roebuck store, and they got denied because of iPlay America. So pretty much iPlay America being down the road from the Freehold Raceway Mall, excuse me, is putting is mean it means that the mall is in a lot of trouble. And Freehold Raceway Mall has a lot of upscale tenants that could very well look into leaving the mall. Um, it's just a shame. All these closings, and you know, I mean, we'll see what happens with JCPenney and even Neiman Marcus. They're not doing too well either. Saks is getting evicted at this mall in Miami because they missed a payment of, I think, 1.9 million or billion. So it's quite depressing, to say the least. Yeah, I actually start school on September 2nd. You know Benjamin? I don't know who that is. No, definitely not replacing Lord & Taylor. Freehold Raceway Mall is done. Yeah, it's game over for that retailer too. At this point, and I'm glad you brought this up, John C. But yeah, Eddie Lampert actually has slightly a little bit more money than Lord & Taylor. Sears is somewhat a little bit more valuable than Lord & Taylor, but Sears at this point is just, it's done. It's Sears will have its day, but today it was Lord & Taylor's turn. Sears will have its day, don't worry. That day is probably coming sooner than later. Yeah, it did. And I could very well see Macy's shifting their focus to the Monmouth Mall store within the next couple of months. Honestly, I think Macy's is better off investing in the Monmouth Mall store versus investing in Freehold. It's the sad reality of me saying that, but true. So yeah, it's quite depressing, to say the least, but what can you do? So anyways, I'll give some people, if you guys, I might actually end the stream, but yeah, I only wanted to kind of do this stream to talk about Lord & Taylor. If you guys have any last minute questions, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to send them. Because I'm pretty tired, but I needed to get this Lord & Taylor thing explained to you guys. So, all right, then I think we're gonna go ahead and end the live stream for tonight. So, thank you guys for watching, and that will be it. Thanks.